Welcome to Tuesday Talk. Rachel, so good to see you. Good to see everyone. All of you who are listening on our podcast, welcome, welcome, welcome. Those of you that are in our Facebook Live group, we appreciate you being here. Jump in, leave comments, have a discussion. But what we would really prefer is if you jump over here on the Zoom. So if you are on Facebook Live, jump over on the Zoom real quick before we you have about a minute, jump in real fast and we'll let you in. And after that, we'll close up and then we're going to have an after party. And we do that after every Tuesday Talk. We have an after party. We turn off the camera or the live and we all just gather together and we just have girl time and we talk about things that, that friends talk about. And that's what we're going to be doing in our after party. So we invite you to come join us. If you are on Facebook Live and you missed the opening here to jump in, just come on in after this is over. Just jump onto Zoom and we'll let you in. Sounds good. Welcome, welcome to everyone. Oh, I'm so excited. We have an amazing guest today. We call her Simi. Her name is Simonette de Sanchez Cherepanov. Did I get that right, Simi? You're muted, sis. You can unmute yourself.
There
Did I get that kind of right? Almost right?
Well,
say it again.
Yes.
Say all the names. Say all the names. I want to hear the whole thing.
Okay. I'm Simonette Sanchez, which is my daddy's last name. Mm-hmm. And in Venezuela, we have a DE after your father's name to signify that you're married to the following last name, which will be Cherepanov. Mm-hmm. So I am Simonette Sanchez de Cherepanov. That means I'm married to Cherepanov.
Awesome. And you are your mountain man. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Oh my God. Can I just say, I love the feminism in that. And all of you, I'm going to say that word. It's not a bad word. The biblically feminine, that we actually own our identities and then we actually embrace our spouse's identities. We are one. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. So sorry, just going to say that.
That's good. Yeah. No, I like that. That's wonderful. Yes, it is. It's really embracing who we are because we have been joined. And that's what that's all about. It's joining. So I love it. Well, wonderful. Well, I am so excited to just get started. I want you all to meet this amazing treasure that the Holy One has brought into our lives. And Simi, I just want to tell you, thank you, sis, so much. You know, you popped into our lives and it's like a whirlwind, and we have just been loving every moment of it. And now you've joined our Rooted Cafe team. It's going to bring me tears. Oh, I brought tissues. And you've joined our Rooted Cafe team, and you're going to be blessing so many beautiful women with these messages that the Holy One's been giving you. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. But first of all, let me just give you her deets. Okay, we're going to do 411 business with Simi, which actually is a little bit more than what I can actually do on this program. So I'm going to just minimize it, sister. I'm going to just hit the main points. You are an ordained minister of the gospel. You are a parent educator, 0 to 5. And I just love that whole thing. That is such a prophetic job description and such a prophetic title and such a prophetic job that you do. It's just amazing. And you are also a mental health child advocate. And that's going to ring a lot of bells for a lot of you, Kathy Merrick and Ina Gould and a lot of you other beautiful women who are really involved in the healing of the nations via touching the hearts of the children. And Simi, your profession allows you to move into the home, not move in, but you're being invited in to the home, or if they're coming to you, and you are touching the hearts of the parents to train them and teach them how to deal with adverse stress-related behaviors, illnesses, mental illnesses, and that type of things. And you do that through the parent so that the parent is enabled and prepared and their boxes full. I'm thinking of the Gimel, right? They're loading all the things up and sending them on their way. And you're doing that for the parents so that they in turn can actually be the ones in the home that are bringing the healing and bringing the stress relief and bringing all of that. And you're doing that. It is such a beautiful, it's just such a beautiful thing. I'm so impressed. So I just wanted to tell everybody that that's the basics of what Simi does, but she does a whole lot more. And you are originally from Venezuela. Yes, and the Holy One transplanted you right here because that's where you needed to be. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. And so now you live here. How long have you been in the United States, Simi?
Well, I came in 1990. Okay. Lived 7 years in Miami. Then to Knoxville, Tennessee in 97. And I've been here since then.
Oh, awesome. We are just so glad you're here. And I am excited about the stories that got you here. I'm excited about, I'm so excited about you telling these wonderful stories about how you got here and what the Holy One did. And so first of all, one of the things I like to ask all of our guests that we have here on the Tuesday Talk is what was the occurrence? What happened? How did you move from being where you were in your belief system to this revelation of the Holy One being all in all, being echad, that his word was not done away with, that the law is not something that beats us down and imprisons us. Rather, it releases freedom to us, and that his instructions are for all times, and that's what Yeshua taught us, that Jesus taught us. So just tell me a little bit quickly about how that occurred for you.
Well, you mentioned how I started as, in Venezuela, being a Catholic country. Of course, I grew up Catholic and believed the catechism. That's all I ever had. Nobody ever taught me anything besides that. But I used it to prepare kids for First Communion. I just had that longing in my heart since I was a kid. And but then I had a friend that came to the United States and she got saved. And I'm like, what is that? What did those gringos do to you? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened here? So then she's telling me, and you need to read in the Bible this, and you need to, I didn't even have a Bible. So I went and bought one. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to be able to, tell her how wrong she is, I need something that we can both go by, which is the Bible. So I went and bought one. And my Bible, I saw, all kinds of, I went to a bookstore and there were all kinds. But I saw one that had some red letters, and I thought, this one looks pretty cool. I wish they had red letters all over the place, but at least has some. So, and I didn't like all the pictures. My mom had a huge one that she had open on Psalm 23 in the front of the doorway, and it was just like,
right. No. We've all had those huge family Bibles with all the pictures and everything. A little scary. Right. Some of those pictures are a little scary.
Yeah, I agree. So, but the thing was, to me, that was interesting was as I'm going through this with her, and going, literally going through the gospel and understanding why there were red letters. And that was just so cool. It's like, yay, now I know why they're red. So I realized how much I really didn't know. And so for the first time, I just felt like most of us out there have gone through this righteous indignation. They lied to me. This was not the truth. And and I went, Protestant. It was like, I am not just a Christian. I'm a Protestant because I'm protesting.
Oh, is that what that was?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I was protesting against the Catholic Church for lying to me. So, but, you go through that. And I'm the first one to become a believer in my home. You know, I'm in the middle of 8 children, and so you know, my parents and my sisters and brothers are like, "Oh, what is she into now?" So, but you know, they all came along and believed just like I did, and it was oh well. Then when my father died, um, my older brother and sister moved to Spain, and they wanted to know our roots. So they started to look into it and found out that we were actually Sephardic Jews. So at this point, we're getting ready at the church that I was part of to go to Israel the following year. So I thought, okay, I'm 49 years old at this point, and I thought, well, since they go through all these portions every year, I probably need to know a little bit more about that so that by the time we hit Israel, you know, I can have a little bit more better conversations with the people in the land and understand each other better. And so I started going to this Messianic congregation and just following all the portions and all the stuff. And I thought, oh my goodness, why was I never taught this? And then it became, of course, those of us that have gone through getting out of the Catholic to the Christian and the Christian to the Hebrew roots, or Torah observant, or follower of the
Torah pursuant, we like to call it.
Yeah, Torah pursuant. My husband used to say, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going to call myself Jeshuamite. We follow Jeshua. That's it.
Hey, that's a good one.
Yes.
We need to write that down. Let's take a note.
I know. It was like, I'm so tired. You know, people ask you, so what are you? What do you believe? And then if you say you're a Christian, what kind of Christian? So
everybody put their hand up if you're feeling the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
We're all like, what do we call ourselves?
Yeah. It's like a never ending story, because then you say this and then they'll say that, and then you go in. So it's like, okay. Then I get to Israel, and I remember God would give me the scripture over and over. You know, I was part of the worship team. I was part of the missions team. I was part of women's ministry. I was constantly,
because that's who you are.
Right. I'm all or nothing. But I remember he would give me this verse, this psalm, and it said, I will proclaim your name in the assembly of the believers. And I questioned myself. I said, why are you always giving me this? And am I not proclaiming you? Am I not, you know, it almost felt like, you know, I'm second guessing myself at this point. I'm like, why are you doing this? But, you know, didn't get an answer about that. So I just, you know, left it in my notes, in my journal, and thinking, well, one day he'll answer me. Well, so we are in Israel, and they're introducing us to this group of in a congregation, and they're passing the microphone. We're saying who we are and why we're there, and da da da. So they passed me the microphone, and I remember I was getting ready to say, well, my ancestors are Jewish, like I had been saying for the past year when I found out. And it was so clear. He said to me, you either are or you aren't. And I'm like, so I'm holding the microphone, having this conversation with God. And I finally said, I am a Jew. And at the moment that I said that, the leader of the congregation, well, I finished what I'm saying, and I explained. When I finished, he says, today prophecy has been fulfilled. And he quotes the verse that he had been giving me over and over. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you wanted me to proclaim who I am in front of my brothers. And so that, I remember crying. And just knowing that that all the things that he had been speaking to me just all came to fruition. And I realized this is who I am.
Wow.
He's been little by little bringing me to a place where he could use me fully as I walk in the whole covenant, not just part of it, but the whole covenant. I'm loving it. So that has been a really sweet, awakening, because when I had a very ugly time, and I know we're going to talk eventually about forgiveness with my mom because of different things that happened, and I could not speak to her. I was just so angry, and there were so many things that I just couldn't forgive her. But eventually, God has a way.
Yes, he does, doesn't he? He will take us a roundabout and back again and just keep dropping us off at the same door.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I remember I was in Miami and I was going down to women's retreat. I lived up Northwest, and the women retreat with Southwest. So I'm going down Palmetto Highway. It's a huge highway, just going down. And, you know, Miami is flat. There's no mountains, nothing. So it's flat. You can see miles away. And it was a bright, beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky, just beautiful blue sky. And I'm driving, and I am just worshiping and asking the Father, you know, prepare my heart. We're going to this, and it's going to be wonderful. And just praying for all the different aspects of the women's retreat. And all of a sudden, and I said, I need you to cleanse my heart. I want to make sure that my hands are clean, my mind is clean, my heart is clean before you, so I can minister. And I see not a cloud in the sky, and I see in clouds a huge, as big as life word that says forgive.
Ooh.
And I'm like, forgive who? I'm just like, I'm not even connecting to what is it that he's, because that she was just like not part of my life, so not even a thought. And I'm like, she was in Venezuela, I was in Miami, not even a thought. And he said, and I start my little, you have no idea what she's done to me. How can I? No, she's the one who needs to ask for forgiveness, and I am fighting with him. Not a word. I get there, and we start worship, and I just became undone. It's like, how can you worship me and you still have this in front of you? But then that's when he opened my eyes to see who I needed to forgive. And so
Beautiful.
I remember getting back home and calling her, and I tried to have this like make her feel guilty so that she would ask me for forgiveness.
How'd that work for you, sis?
Never worked.
Yeah, exactly.
She would get angry at me, and that was just, see, that's why we can't talk. You know, it was like, not going there.
So what you're saying is that sometimes forgiveness takes more than 1 second. Yes. Sometimes it's actually walking it out, right? Living it.
Yes. Yes.
Hate to spoil alert.
Yes, you're right. And so I did. I got home and I called her, and I said, Mom, I need you to ask you something, and please hear me out. Don't interrupt me. I just need you. Yeah, because otherwise there will be no conversation. I need to ask you to forgive me. And there is a huge silence. So I said, you know, please forgive me for, and then I just lay it all out. And she's not answering. And all of a sudden I hear this. So she's been crying. And then she goes, no, baby, I'm the one who needs to ask you to forgive me. And it was the sweetest conversation we've ever had. But after that, then the doors were open to be able to really walk out the commandments, because the only commandment that has a promise is honor your father and your mother. And it doesn't say when they're nice to you.
Right.
Oh, when they're right.
That's right,
or when they're
Simi.
righteous. And I'm like, okay. So I started to care for her, send her money for her needs. You know, she's an older lady with, you know, with illnesses, etc. And so that started that wonderful journey for both of us, and for her to listen to what I had to say. And then when I started, you know, when all this happened, and I said, Mom, I just found out all along, I'm thinking that it is through our dad's side that we are Sephardic Jews, but I just found out that almost every single one of your last names are Jewish last names. And so we get it from both sides, from you. And she's like, I want to know more. Please tell me all about it. So I started to do that, calling her on Shabbat, Erev Shabbat, and praying with her. The first time I prayed the Aaronic benediction over her, she cried. And she said, it was like a blanket of peace came over me. And then it became, you know, every Friday, it's like, please bless me, please bless me. And then I hear her, she's so sweet. I hear her memorizing it. She had been memorizing it. So she wanted to repeat it after me. So I would say the word and she would say it back, and she would say it back. And so we got to bless each other.
Wow.
So that's how this whole thing, you know, from Catholic to walking out, everything that he says, just like they say, the whole Megillah.
Yeah, the whole Megillah.
Scroll.
Isn't it beautiful how he draws us from where we are? You know, we have to, that's why we can't ever be mad about our past, about where we were, about what we were doing. It's part of our testimony. He draws us from that place. That is where he got us from. So, you know, Charlie and I are really big on not bashing anybody, any church, any denomination, anything. We don't bash, because they're part of our family, in the sense that that's where we were when he found us and he drew us. And we still have a lot of brothers and sisters that are in places that they may not be in, hopefully soon. But we are going to be respectful to them.
Yes.
And respectful of them, and respectful of the Holy One, because he draws us from those deep wells. He reaches in and grabs us. And I love that you were in your religion, and then you protested. And then you came out, and then you were entrenched in something that you really weren't sure what it was, and he had you proclaim your testimony. And that is so beautiful, Simi. That is so beautiful that you proclaimed your testimony, and you aligned with who he says that you are. And then that fulfillment of that prophetic vision that you had, and that scripture that had just kept coming up and coming up. So I love that, because you know that when you're giving this testimony, every single one of us here that are listening, whether we're listening on podcast or we're listening live or we're listening in the replay, every single one of us has a story like that, where he reveals himself to us. Like, we think we're missing the mark. We think that, oh, it's just too much pizza I ate last night. You know, pizza sounds good. That's a good one.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not go there. Yeah, but what he's actually doing is setting us up for the miracle. And y'all, I just want to say that one of the things that Simi has said since I've met her that I love so much, it's one of the reasons why I totally fell in love with you, and now you're my people. Because you said every single person sees from their own glass, from their own glasses. Every single person has a uniqueness inherent in them because they are a created being and they have the Ruach HaKodesh inside of them, the spirit of the living God. And so when they tell their stories, it's unique specifically to them.
Right.
And that's why and this is what you said, that's why we need each other, because we need to hear the stories from a different perspective. It's really the same story, but it's just from a little bit of a different perspective, and it grabs a hold of us and it encourages us and it inspires us and it tells us, if you did it for her, you can do it for me. If you did it for me, you can do it for her. That's what we need to be saying. And I love that about you, because you're a gatherer and because you love all the people that are different and unique and unusual and crazy. You love them all. And you gather people around you because you want to hear their stories. And that just resonates within me, because that's me. I want to hear people's stories, and I want to hear about how the Holy One spoke a scripture to them 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, and all of a sudden you're seeing it fulfilled now. Because sometimes it takes a while. And I want to hear stories of the forgiveness. And all of us do. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because we have a lot of stories that I want to draw out of you, because you have some amazing, amazing stories. But because you've been talking about this role of forgiveness, can we just go ahead and go there, because we're going to run out of time. And I really want you to be able to share this part of your story. Recently, the Holy One has been speaking to you about drawing women, and that he told you that you would be sitting at the well and you would be drawing women to the well. And I'm reminded of that beautiful story of Yeshua deliberately going into Samaria, which he had told them prior not to go, but he deliberately went into Samaria and he sat there and he spoke with the woman at the well. And he was telling her, I will give you this living water. And when you told me about this vision that the Holy One had given you, I knew that he was going to make a place for you. He was going to make a place for you to be drawing women to the well, not to your well, but to your well. Like Jacob's well is Jacob's well. It doesn't mean that he's the water. The water is Yeshua.
Yes.
And if you remember at Jacob's well, when he moved that stone aside, remember when he moved that stone aside and the water rushed up?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. The water rushing up and overflowing. Yeah. And I'm just so excited that this is what the Holy One is doing with you right now. And a message that you had to share with us today. And I want all of you, the reason I told you that is because I want you in the back of your head to be thinking about that, sitting at the well, because this is what Simi is going to be doing. And I want you to be able to sit at the well with her. But you were talking about how the Holy One spoke to you recently about a situation, and he was explaining to you about forgiveness and how vitally important it is for our health, for our mental health, for our physical health, for our home life health, for our relationship health, to walk in this place of forgiveness every day. And so can I just kind of segue you into that, sis? Would you mind just like taking it and run with it? We have some time. I'm trying to stay on time, so I want to be honorable of everybody. Yeah, we have 30 minutes, so go. Boom.
Well, it was really interesting to see. I'm part of a fellowship. It's called, and anybody can be part of it. It's called the Land of Israel Fellowship. And I'm not trying to get anybody to do something or promote another ministry, but it is the most beautiful thing. What they're doing there, and I was actually there. I went with Julissa and Keisha last year during Sukkot to their farm. They are in Judea, and it's a settlement according to most people they call it their land. Judea is, part
So
of
that you're talking about Israel.
in Israel, correct?
In the land,
right,
in the land. Okay, got it.
So, but what they have been doing is, because of this whole thing with COVID, to create a way that we can, since we can't go into the land, that we can all learn. Because this is what's really sweet about this couple, and there's there's two families that are there, and all three of them teach. One of the Ari is one, and Jeremy with his wife Tahila. Okay, so this last teaching, so they feel that it is a mandate in scripture that the Jews are supposed to give the good news to the nations. So they are given the good news, and they're teaching the world what they believe is, the word of God, and they don't care, if you are religious, not religious, believe like they do or not. Everybody's welcome. They say very clearly, this is not about religion. This is about the word of God, and we're gonna explain it. So they are talking about how, the portion that we had just finished, and about reframing the way things happened, so that so that you see things the way God sees it, and not the way we see it. When something wrong happens to us, we go, oh, why did that happen? And and it's always this, woe is me, a poor thing, I didn't deserve that. That's not fair, or that, things like that. And it's really depending, like what happened to Joseph, you can see it all as, well, poor guy, look at all this that happened to him. Or you can see it the way he says it. You may have intended it for bad, but God turned it all around for good. And so depending of how you see things, the way that will be the lens that you're using to look at that situation. So when she's talking about that, from my background with neuroscience, that you have to reframe things. You have to reconceptualize. If something happened this way, you can turn that around and say, okay, this is a toxic thought, and I don't need to dwell on that, because the more you repeat it, the stronger it gets. So how do I get rid of this toxic thought? I reframe it, and I turn it around. If I have to repent, if I have to do whatever I need to do in order to—
So taking responsibility.
Right, you face it. Face it, and then you say, okay, this was wrong. I repent, and now this is what this is the good that is going to come out of that. Because whatever you repeat the most grows. You don't want a toxic thought growing in your head. You want a good thought growing in your head. So that's how you reconceptualize, or you reframe it, like she says. So she was saying in her teaching, I'm like, okay, that makes all the sense in the world. And then it goes to the next one. And then the next one, he was saying, with everything that Judah did, and which I didn't know this, he was going into right after, because his father-in-law is a neuroscience scientist. So he brings in a lot of that, and that's why I love it so much.
That's one of your love languages, is
yeah,
neuroscience.
Like, yeah. So that was like, because he was talking about PTSD, and he said, the problem with PTSD is not really how, what have you seen, but what have you done? That is what torments people, that they remember the things that they actually did in whatever situation. So it is, so when he's talking about Judah, when Judah went and said to his father, is this your son's coat? Look at this and tell me if this is his coat. And then he sees the pain he caused his father, that was his PTSD. He was just going over and over, and it says that he left. He's the first one to leave the home. Judah left his brothers, and he left Jacob, and he just went and married. We don't even know her name. He married someone and had 2 evil sons. And then so we know it just gets worse and worse, and he's down spiraling until Tamar says to him, "Can you recognize this?" And when she uses the same words that they used with his father, and it just triggers back to him. Okay, you've been avoiding this. You've been ignoring this. 22 years have passed by. You could have gone and find your brother. You could have brought him in. You could have, fixed this whole thing. But no, you not only don't fix it, you run away. Now your life is a mess. Imagine this. It is from the line of Judah that we get Messiah. And up to that point, if Tamar hadn't done what she did, that would have been the end of it. And Judah would have had no son to continue the lineage. So here we have him again facing that moment. And it is important for us to remember that we will face it. Just like that day I'm going down, my mom is out of my mind. It's not even an issue in my life because she's in a different country, totally away from me. But is he going to let me, get away with it? No. If he has to put big clouds in the sky and said, forgive, then he will do whatever he needs to do.
Yes, he will. He will hunt us down, won't he?
Yes, he will.
Because he loves us that much.
Yes, and I am so thankful for that. Because I would have not have the blessings that I have now if I hadn't done that with her. And my poor mom would have been tormented. Talking about PTSD, she did a lot of things that were tormenting her. And she was in her own little, prison of woe is me. I did this wrong, that wrong. And look, my life is a mess because of the things I did wrong. And, but he forgives those things when we ask for forgiveness, and he restores. And so here we have him saying, she's right. That's my staff. That's my ring. She is more righteous than I am. He faced it. And that's all he's asking for us. Let's just face it.
So that's good. That's good.
When he does this, he can go back home. And now, is that it? Because, he really didn't fix the situation with his father. But Joseph is putting them through a little mill. He's squeezing everything out of them little by little, and he's not letting go until he hears what he needs to hear. And when he realizes, okay, he hears them saying, this is why it's happening to us. We did this. So he realizes, okay, they do realize that they did something wrong. Okay. But the moment that Judah says, oh no, we are all staying here with Benjamin. If Benjamin stays, we all stay. And then he realized, okay, they did learn their lesson, because we are all brothers and we're staying all together.
Oh, that's so good.
Yep. And when he realized it's not just, my brother, the one that says in scripture that is no longer, it is like we are all staying together. We're all one.
And how prophetic was that? Because they didn't know at that moment that Joseph was the one that they had thrown away.
Right.
And when they said that, he was actually, they were all being brought together. I love that, Simi. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So
I'm getting excited.
I know, because then he goes into and says, this is something that we do in honor of Judah. Every Jew will at nighttime pray and ask forgiveness or extend forgiveness for anything that has happened during that day. And we do that in honor of Judah, because Judah faced his situation, and he took responsibility, and he said that's it. I will be your servant if I have to, but I'm not doing this again. I am not letting my father know that now we lost his other son too.
Okay, so this is a good point. This is where we're going to start taking notes, everybody. So you face the issue head on,
right?
And you present it to the Lord, and you're going to deal with it. You're going to be courageous in that, in facing that. Every single night, then you're telling us every single night, then there is a healing routine that kind of, I guess you could call it. Yeah. That's what you're saying now, is that every night, this is what you're going to do, because you're going to allow your body to heal. So I just want to make sure, I don't want anyone to miss that point real quick. So go ahead.
Right. And if you think about it, if you ever follow Caroline Leaf 21-day brain detox, she will tell you that that is something that we have to do daily. It's at nighttime before you go to bed. You want to make sure that all your accounts are closed. You know,
I love that.
Anything that comes up to your conscious are things that your body will deal with while you sleep. So you don't want, if let's say you are worried about money, let's say, you know, I lost my job, or I'm worried about I'm sick. So you don't want to go to bed thinking that, because anything that goes up to your conscious, if you don't deal with it, it goes back down to the subconscious stronger.
Okay.
So you want to make sure whatever comes up, you deal with it right away, and you say, okay, if you had something to do with that, you ask forgiveness. If it's something that, you know, somebody did to you, you forgive them, but you close that, so that when it goes down, it doesn't go stronger, it goes weaker.
Okay? Awesome.
So because whatever is not settled when you go to sleep, that is what's rolling in your mind, in your dreams. And then you think, you know, I had a pizza dream, but really is your mind is trying to heal, is trying to get rid of this.
So this is the Ephesians 4:26 that this is what the topic that you were going to be talking about, which is Ephesians 4:26.
Right.
Because, you want to go ahead and share that with them? So
because when he said that, I thought, oh my gosh, that is a different slant to do not let your anger, do not let the sun down on your anger. And in my mind, I always thought it meant, you know, before the day is over, you fix the problem, because you can't let the sun come down on it. You can't stay angry. So let's fix this. And my poor husband, oh my goodness, I would not let him sleep until we fix the problem. And he would and how many times I know he would just said, please forgive me, whatever, you know, just let me go to sleep, was probably in the back of his mind. But the thing is, that is when we see things, that's why reconceptualizing, reframing, seeing it from a different perspective is so important, because I was being honest. I thought that's what it said. You know, I'm very literal. So it says that. That's what I mean. But what he
wake up, saying, you can't sleep. I've got anger.
And we're fixing it.
And we're fixing it before the sun goes down. Wait, the sun already went down. Wake up.
Yes. So then what he's saying is, no, that doesn't mean that. Because what happens if the person is dead and you can fix the problem with that? What happens if the person is in another country and you can fix the problem with them? So that means that you're stuck? No, it just means that anything that comes up to your mind, you deal with it. You ask God, and you forgive and let that, you know, if you close all those, it's kind of like, you know, your computer, if you think about it, you know, if you, when you're ready to close it, it will tell you, it cannot, you shut it down. It says you have too many
Tabs open.
tabs open, and you want to close them.
You're going to lose it if you don't save it first.
Exactly.
Take care of it.
Yeah. So you want to shut down your computer, start closing tabs. We need to. It is for your own health. And it was so cool because I did it that night, of course. It feels so good. And then I wake up in the morning and it was like peace and quiet. She says, Caroline Leaf, that when you wake up and the first thing is anxiety, or what did I do wrong? Or did I do this? Or I forgot to do this. When that means you went to bed, and now this is my own verbiage, with many tabs open. You did not close them last night. And, but what she's saying is, if you don't deal with that, all you're doing is it's going down stronger. And, the subconscious, it's open 24/7, 365. It never stops. It is the fastest our brain works, and it's constantly on. But when we are awake, our brain cannot handle that velocity. So we can only deal with a few thoughts at a time. But when we go to sleep, everything is on. So we have to, for our own peace of mind, and it's nice to know that biblically, it also correlates to that we do need to close our tabs and ask God to forgive, because we can't, in order for us to be forgiven, we need to forgive.
So Simi, talk to me a moment about forgiving. What does that mean and what does it not mean?
Well, forgiving means that you acknowledge that you've done wrong. You say, what I did wrong. There is a lot of blankets. Oh, forgive me for everything I've ever done wrong to you. That's not forgiveness. That's not asking for forgiveness, because Judah had to say, no, if my brother stays, we all stay. We are all your servants. So there is an acknowledgement of, I did something wrong, and this is what I did wrong. And please forgive me for calling you names. Please forgive me for abandoning you. Please forgive me, be clear of what I'm asking for. But then at the same time, it doesn't mean that what you did was wrong. What you did wrong, it's okay. You abused me and you were horrible to me, and then I will just let you walk back into my life to keep abusing me and doing. No, that doesn't mean that I'm making it right, but I am not God. And I think that's where we go wrong, is that I'm going to hold you accountable for that. I am going to make sure that you pay for everything you did, because I am the judge. And that is, I'm not God.
So you were saying the first part is come before the Holy One and ask him for personal, get rid of your stuff that he's bringing personally to your mind. And you're going to ask for forgiveness for that between you and the Holy One, the things that he brings to your mind. Okay. So then that's good. And then the other side to that coin is people that have wounded you, people that have abused you, people that have traumatized you, people that are currently in a situation that are currently actively wounding you. That's the other side of the forgiveness. And I just want to make it really clear so that people are, catching this. Simi, this is so valuable to us. So that's when you're saying that forgiveness, not your personal, but when you're dealing with someone else, that is the forgiveness, like Yeshua did on the cross. Forgive them. They didn't even know what they were doing. They don't understand what they're doing. That's what you're saying is releasing them from the responsibility and giving it to God. Not that they didn't do it.
Right.
Not that you now have to be best friends, not any of that, but releasing it to the Holy One. so that the throne room, the strategies of the throne room can be put into place, and we're not holding that back. We're releasing our hands off of it.
Right.
So the strategies of heaven can now move forward, and that's our partnership with him. Am I catching that?
That
Okay.
is correct.
Thank you.
Because they there is when I work with Neil Anderson in Freedom in Christ, that was one of the illustrations that he would use when we would take people through the steps to freedom, and we would get to the step of forgiveness. It says, forgiveness is somebody hurt you and that person is still attached to you. That pain is still here. And unless you let go, that person is still hurting you. So that doesn't mean, and it may be very well, somebody that, raped you and was caught and it's in jail. You don't have to go to jail and talk to him and forgive him. But you do have to let go of that, because otherwise you are holding that pain is still holding your heart, and that person is still hurting you, but not releasing forgiveness. So you say, I forgive you. So you let that go. And what you're saying is, Father, it's in your hands. It's outside of mine. I forgive and I bless. And then the Father would never bless a dirty cup. So he will clean that cup in order to fill it up. And that's one thing that we have a problem with, because we don't want that cup to be clean, and we don't want that cup to be filled, and we want that person to pay. And but that is God's job, not ours. Ours is, you want to have a good night's sleep. You want to wake up with peace and no noise in your head. Do what I'm asking you to do. Let go. And the best is the Lord's Prayer. If you think about it, that is part of the prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And it doesn't say only if they ask for it,
right?
Only if they,
that's a good point. Appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, no. He says, just do it. Just do it. Forgive me.
Yeah.
And I forgive those that, did whatever to me. I forgive them.
Can I just pause just for a second? Charlie, you have such a beautiful understanding of the word forgive. Can you share that real quick? I know that you were typing in the text. Everybody needs to do a word study on forgive. Can I just ask you real quick to just share that, because Simi, it's going to really support. It's supporting everything that you're saying.
I think that it's actually the word forget is actually and I'm like, I love that. I feel like that if I remember everything, I get really prideful. So the Holy One's not allowing me to remember anything anymore. So either that, or it's because I'm old. But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say my mind is renewed every day. But it actually isn't the word forgive. It's more of the forget, because I feel like when we are hurt, and I'm going to, I have so many Hebrew words like running in my head, right? I forget in Hebrew. Someone type it in really quick for me. The word forget, I'm seeing it in Hebrew right now, but I can't give it to you. How do you say it? It is no. Anyway, I'll type it in for you guys. But one of the different things for Hebrew for when we're looking at the word forget, it isn't that when you understand, that's one of the words that when we do like when you guys go into your library and you see the word of the week, there's a reason that we do a word every week, because if you just grab one word every week and you just get to know a word, then everything comes live. So forget was one of those for me, is like, I understand it and I can see the hieroglyphic of this word. We always think in English, forget means the absence of memory, to not remember it anymore. And so what happens then is it's translated often throughout the whole word as forget is he's going to throw it to the sea of forgetfulness. He's not going to remember it any longer, because that's how we translate it in English. But that's actually not the Hebrew visual. Yeah, shakha, to forget. The word is it's actually not forgetting it to absence of memory. It's to not hold it accountable, to not put the weight of the circumstances on it anymore. So what you're saying, if we put it into this situation, I realize that two things happened for me with my own mother is asking her to, having to forgive her through like a sozo, having to forgive her, and she's passed away, so I couldn't do it in person. But there was some things that that happened that I realized had really played a huge thing in my life. So in forgiving her, I don't have to forget it. It doesn't mean that's, some people think like, how are you going to forget that? Some of you have had horrible things happen to you. You'll never forget those unless the Holy One decides to remove it from your memory. Yeah. But what you do is you don't hold the weight anymore of it. The forgetfulness is the weight isn't on you. When we stand before him, we don't now carry the consequences or the weight of it because he's taken. We may have to live out consequences, but we don't have the weight of the sin or the injustice. The other thing that happened to me in this was when I forgave, I had to ask the Holy One to forgive me for the way that I judged her on how she handled the issue.
Right.
And when the person asked me, are you ready to forgive her? I'm like, oh yeah, I've already forgiven her. Oh, I'm good with this. And then he said, oh, okay, well, let's just pray it anyway. So I'm like, oh, Father, I thank you. I forgive her, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, okay, now can you ask him to forgive you for judging her on how she handled this? Okay, lost it, cry, couldn't handle it. So now, even with the people who've done horrific things to me, you know, maybe you've had horrible things happen to you. The idea of saying, Father, forgive me for judging them on their sin, on how they handled this with me, how I've maybe shared it with too many people, on how I've it broke the chain instantly. That was it. So I have to say about that.
Well, you know, the word in Greek is ephiemi, and that word means to let go, to loosen. So when you want to forgive is to really say, I let go of that. You know, I'm not holding on to that. That's not part of who I am anymore. And because sometimes we hold our pain as an identity. And then because it's hard for us to give it up. And it says, but no, it says, ephiemi, let go. Just loosen it, let it be. And that way, it's no longer attached to you. It's no longer who you are. You know who you are. And, you know, when I was talking about changing a toxic thought, so if that is something that has become who I think I am, then you have to let it go and conceptualize who you really are. Who am I? And then you find weapons. You know, that's why the word, it's our sword. You find the word that is going to be your sword in that area. So
it's your inoculation.
Yeah. So then you say,
good word this week, guys.
So then you said, this is who I was, or this is who I became due to this, that, and the other, but this is who I am, which is two different things. So then you reinforce who you are and you forgive, you let go, you loosen that tie with that situation, with that person, and then you acquire, you know, the real you. And then every time that thought comes to your mind, you don't remember what was wrong. That one has been taken care of. And you can say, no, that's been taken care of, and just let it be. And then you do reiterate, this is who I am. And every time it wants to come up, you do the same thing. And this is who I am. And it's like a muscle. The more you exercise that muscle, the stronger it gets. And believe me, that this one is going to try to come up as many times as it can, as long as you let it. I love that little book that Max Lucado made, You Are Special. And he says there's something so wise. You know, they're putting the little stickers, the golden stickers if you were good, the gray stickers if you were bad. And then there's this little girl that no sticker sticks to her. And they says, how come nothing sticks to her? Little Punchinello asked. And Eli say, they don't attach to her because she doesn't let them. And then Punchinello says, what do you mean? she doesn't give them any credit. So what we give credit attaches to us.
That's
But
really
if we
good.
don't,
Mhm.
it will just
Exactly.
slide off.
In Hebrew, the root word is it speaks of forgetting, which is part of the forgiveness part. It's part of the root system.
Mm-hmm.
Forgetting is actually to neglect, and what that means is that you stop putting your attention upon that thing. It's not that it doesn't exist. It doesn't deserve your attention.
Yes.
It does not deserve your energy. It does not deserve to drain you of health and wholeness and happiness.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that it didn't exist. It did not occur. It means that it is not for you to put your attention upon.
Right.
And that's neglect, and that's different. And I love that. I love the Hebrew, that, because it gathers it in and says, okay, yeah, it doesn't. Yes, this happened. There's nobody's saying pretend it didn't happen. That's magic. That's fake.
Yeah.
Yes, it happened. Are you going to put your attention upon that thing? That your mother wounded you? Are you going to put all of your attention on the wound? No, you're going to focus your attention upon what is good, what is pure, what is lovely, what is just, what fruit are you eating?
Report.
A good report.
Worthy of
That's right. And why? Because that is how you are going to walk in who you are created to be. And that's what this is all about. Forgiveness is going to bring you right back to the throne room of God, where you're face to face with the creator of the universe, who says, you are special. I love you. Let me breathe my breath into you. And we can't do that when we have all of these things between us and the Holy One. Simi, we could just like hit the record and just have you talk for the next 3 hours. Because I would really love to do that. Actually, maybe we will. But can you just like finish up here and round it up, and we're going to go into the after party in a moment, but can you just like finish this up, or do you want to take questions, or how do you want to do that? Do you want to just finish up what you're finishing? I mean, what you're saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to grasp that for you.
Yeah. Either way, all that I would add to that is that, when you said there is nothing in between us. When we worship is intimacy. And that means I am before my Father face to face. And we do not need a cloud of witnesses in that place. So anything that comes between him and me has to go. Because when I worship him, and that's why he wouldn't let me go that day, because how can you worship me when you have this very, very dark spot in your heart that you need to take care of? So now, does he bring every single ugly spot I have in my heart? No, he wouldn't. He's a good father. He does exactly what he needs to do when he needs to do it. And don't try to search and try to find every ugly thing you've ever done. That's not what he's saying. You trust him and you say, Father, I'm here before you. Is there anything that needs to come up to the surface for me to deal with? I'm willing. Hineni, here I am. And then when he brings up whatever he brings up, because he is so good to us, he will bring just that we can handle. And then you can deal with that. And if nothing comes up, don't search for it.
I love that.
Yeah, let it be. Thank you, Abba. Thank you, Abba. And then you just, next day, it's another day. And every day, if we do that, we keep our accounts clean and we keep our accounts short. And that is what's important, that we don't carry this long list of things that are constantly keeping our brain without any rest. Because when we do that, we get sick.
Right.
mentally and
Yes.
physically
Yes.
and spiritually, because we have
Yes.
something that it's in between us, and we need this. We need to have this face to face with him. And it has to be on a daily basis. It's not something that, okay, I did it on Shabbat, so I'm okay. We have to do this on everyday basis.
Yes. Panim al panim, face to face. Faces to faces, actually, but panei al panei is face to face, but it's really panim al panim. It's faces to faces. In other words, we don't want anything coming between his breath exchange with our breath exchange. And forgive and holding people accountable. Yeshua did it the perfect way. He said, forgive them, Father, right now, forgive them, in the midst of them torturing, in the midst of them actively participating in their cruelty. In the midst of that, he said, forgive them. He did not wait until they repented. He did not wait for them to say they were sorry. He did not wait for them to have a change of heart. He forgave them so that he, and I love what you said about this, so that he did not hold any shackles, and there was nothing between him and the Holy One. He was releasing upon them forgiveness so that they were not being held accountable. It does not mean that God will not deal. He will, because he is a just God. He will deal with them.
He will.
But even our worst enemies, we want that justice to be with mercy. And in our natural mind, in our natural souls, we want justice with no mercy. We want them to pay and pay well and pay more and keep on paying forever. But in the scheme of the world, what does that do? You know, the earth is crying out for the sons and daughters of God to arise. And that means that we need to walk in forgiveness. And in order for us to arise, we have to walk in forgiveness. We have to have a clean slate. Simi, thank you so much. This was the most amazing talk, the most amazing revelation that's blowing. This breath is blowing upon his people right now. And in our after party, so if you're watching on Facebook Live, jump on, because in the after party, we're actually going to take questions. And we don't want that on camera. I mean, we don't want that on video filmed for all to see forever. It goes into some place we have no idea, some place called the cloud. I don't know what that means. But anyway, we want to do that. But in the midst of this, guys, just recognize that what Simi was saying, it's not a formula, because God doesn't tell us a formula like do it this way and you're gonna. It's really recognize, come to grips with, be courageous, as we talk about a lot. When he brings something to your attention, take responsibility for it. Even if it was done to you, take responsibility for your behavior because of that. What have you done? How are you dealing with it that needs to be dealt with? And take that. And then release neglect. Neglect and forget in the sense of neglecting it. Do not focus your attention upon that thing. Focus your attention upon what is the Holy One doing in the lives of his people, and how do we participate in building the kingdom. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And we're going to be hearing more from Simi. She's going to be sharing more and more here in the Rooted Cafe. And so please, if you haven't already, if you're just thinking about it or whatever, just jump on, get your friends, let's go. Bring your friends in here. We want everybody to be here to join with us and to be part of building one another up and loving one another and encouraging one another. Yes.
That's why I love you too, you and Charlie. And the day that I met you guys was like,
ditto.
Thank you, Abba. Thank you, because it's all about the kingdom.